90-year-old Arthur sat by the window, the sea breeze a gentle whisper against his cheek. His eyes, though clouded by age, still held the deep, unwavering gaze of a man who had seen the ocean's fury and found peace within it. He often thought of that storm, not with fear, but with a quiet understanding. It was a memory etched deep, a turning point that had shaped every breath he'd taken since. The sea serpent was a proud vessel, a marvel of craftsmanship that had braved countless voyages. But even pride buckles under the wrath of a true tempest. Waves like mountains crashed over the deck, tearing at sails, splintering wood with a sound like thunder. Below, the crew, hardened sailors though they were, succumbed to terror. Their screams mingled with the shriek of the wind, a symphony of despair that echoed the chaos of the sea. Captain Arthur Crawford, however, stood firm at the helm, his face grim, but his mind a fortress. He knew panic was a luxury they couldn't afford. He had to be their anchor, their unwavering point in a world turned upside down. Arthur's hands, calloused from years of navigating treacherous waters, gripped the wheel with a strength born of necessity and discipline. He wasn't immune to fear. The primal instinct to survive surged within him like any other man. But his years of studying Stoic philosophy had taught him to distinguish between what he could control and what he could not. The storm? Uncontrollable. The fate of his ship? Beyond his ultimate command. But his reaction to it, his resolve, his actions, entirely within his power. He barked orders, his voice cutting through the gale, guiding his men to secure what they could, to fight for every inch of survival. He saw the raw fear in their eyes, the desperate pleas for reassurance, and he offered it, not with false promises, but with calm, decisive action. He was their captain, and he would not falter. When the sea serpent finally succumbed, breaking apart against unseen rocks with a groan that seemed to rend the very soul of the ship, Arthur was the last to abandon. He helped his men into the lifeboats, his strength seemingly endless, his focus absolute even as the frigid water swirled around his waist. They drifted for days, a small cluster of humanity adrift in an indifferent ocean. The sun beat down mercilessly, then chilling nights followed, each bringing new challenges. Supplies dwindled, hope flickered like a dying candle in the vast, empty expanse. The men looked to him, their faces gaunt, their spirits broken. He rationed water, shared his meager food, and, most importantly, shared his quiet resolve. He told them stories, not of rescue, but of endurance, of the human spirit's capacity to overcome. He was their silent beacon, a steady flame in the encroaching darkness. Days bled into weeks. Delirium began to set in for some, their whispers turning to desperate cries. their eyes reflecting the madness of thirst and hunger. Arthur, though weary to his bones, maintained his vigil. He watched the horizon, scanned the endless blue, but saw only more blue, an unbroken, mocking expanse. The silence of the men, once filled with panic, was now a heavy, suffocating blanket of resignation. Even Arthur felt the edges of his resolve fraying, the weight of responsibility pressing down. He knew the odds. He knew the sea. But he also knew the power of a single, determined will, a spark that refused to be extinguished. One morning, as he rummaged through the waterlogged remains of his personal chest, salvaged almost by miracle from the wreck, his fingers brushed against something stiff. It was an old, leather-bound journal, a family heirloom, its pages brittle with age and seawater. Tucked within its folds, almost forgotten, was a faded, hand-drawn map. It was of an obscure, uncharted island chain, passed down through generations of his seafaring family, a secret known only to the Crawfords. And there, marked with a faint, almost invisible X, was a small cove, described in elegant script as the Haven of Whispers. A spark ignited within him, a flicker of hope in the vast darkness that had threatened to consume them all. It wasn't a guarantee, a promise of immediate rescue, but it was a direction, a purpose beyond mere survival. He showed it to the men, their eyes widening, a collective gasp escaping their parched lips. It was a fragile hope, a thin thread in the storm, but it was hope nonetheless. It gave them a reason to row, a reason to believe, a reason to fight the encroaching despair that had settled deep in their bones. With renewed, albeit fragile, strength, they steered towards the coordinates on the ancient map. Days later, when they were on the brink of collapse, when the last drop of water was gone, and their voices were but rasps, a faint green line appeared on the horizon. The Haven of Whispers was real. It was a small, verdant cove, hidden by towering cliffs, its waters teeming with fish, its shores dotted with fresh-water springs and fruit-bearing trees. They had found sanctuary. They had found life. The relief was overwhelming, a wave that washed away weeks of terror and despair, leaving behind a profound sense of gratitude. They were rescued weeks later by a passing merchant ship, their story of survival, a testament to Arthur's unwavering leadership and the unexpected gift of his family's past. But the true rescue wasn't just physical. It was a profound spiritual awakening for Arthur and his crew, a lesson in resilience and the hidden wonders of the world. Back in his quiet home, 90-year-old Arthur smiled, the sea breeze still a gentle companion. The storm had taken his ship, his livelihood, but it had given him so much more. It had solidified his belief in the power of inner strength, the wisdom of accepting what cannot be changed, and the enduring resilience of the human spirit. The map, a forgotten relic, had not just led them to safety, but had shown him that even in the deepest despair there are hidden paths, unexpected blessings, waiting to be discovered.
He had learned that life, like the ocean, is full of unpredictable storms, but also of quiet coves and new beginnings.
And that, he knew, was a treasure far greater than any gold.